what is the most foolproof way of making change stick? What is the easiest way to hack growth? I'll tell you. Change your identity. Hi everyone, this is Sudeshna from The Abundant Psyche, and you are listening to the Not So Corporate podcast. Here we talk about all of those not so corporate things that make corporate entrepreneurs more successful than their corporate peers. And today I'm talking about change and growth. If you are anything like any of my audience who listens to this podcast, or any of the people who come across me, you are probably really invested in growth and change. You have that growth mindset. And one of the things that I have realized over time is that all change and all growth is unfortunately quite painful. None of us like to change. None of us like to grow. And sometimes change has people curled up in a blanket and not wanting to do anything with their lives. And if that sounds familiar, it is, because this is the experience that most people are going through as well. So let me first tell you that you are not alone. Every single person goes through this. Every single person who's invested in change, right? And I will also tell you that not everyone is invested in change. Not everyone is invested in growth. Some people are perfectly happy in being where they are, which is fine. No judgment, right? That is fine. And that is how they want to be. That is how their karma has shaped out in this life. That is how they are meant to be in this life. That's fine. And there's no disrespect in someone not being willing to change. But when we talk about growth, growth is rare without change. When we talk about growth, we have to simultaneously talk about change because they almost go hand in hand. I'm going to share a few things that have been incredibly helpful to me personally, but also my clients and students. And this is where I felt like that change that you want to see sticks on. I'll give you a random example. One of my clients, she believed that she was this clerical employee who didn't really have much to do. Her job was not really impactful. Her job was just data entry and very menial. We started working together, and where we got to was that, hey, your job is not actually menial. Your job is something that powers the entire business. Your job is to find efficiency in the business. Yeah, you can call it data entry, but what are you doing as a result? What is the result? What is the impact of that data entry onto your business? And we very quickly discovered that she was the powerhouse of actually optimizing costs in her business. Yes, she was doing data entry from time to time, but that wasn't the real job. That was the mundane bit of the job that she did not like, and she was basically defining herself with that mundane bit of the job. But the job, the real job, was to actually impact the bottom line of the business. And when she shifted her identity from being this data entry person to being, I'm the optimization person. I help businesses grow. I help you make calculated investments. I help you get the maximum ROI on your investment. Her whole identity changed. And now she positions herself as a leader. And now she works for one of the top investment banks in the world, if not the top investment bank in the world. She had several offers from various other investment banks, consulting firms, and whatnot. And that is how you make a change. Now, if you noticed carefully in what I said, she shifted her identity from being the data entry person to actually the optimization leader. That is a subtle shift in identities. Change is lasting, and change is the most effective when you change your identity. When you can change your identity into being the new person that you want to be, then change is a lot more likely to stick. You could argue and say that, well, are you talking about fake it till you make it? Because I can't really fake it. And no, I'm not asking you to fake it till you make it. In fact, fake it till you make it is perhaps quite bad advice because it makes you feel like you are not yourself. And if you fake it, people around you will know that you are faking it. I mean, I see tons of people on YouTube, and I know from how they are carrying themselves that they are probably not being completely authentic. And it's not in what they say, but it's a lot of other things, like your voice leaves clues, your body language leaves clues, your energetics, like how you are in front of the camera or how your voice modulation is, leaves clues. Your eyes leave clues. If you try to fake it till you make it, I'm not really sure how many people have been served by that advice, but most of my clients that I speak to, they really dislike that piece of advice because they've tried it and they have failed miserably. But changing at an identity level is more than faking it till you make it. So if you follow through the advice of fake it till you make it, you'll probably be like, I need to talk in a certain way. If you try and fake it till you make it, you will be faking someone else. But when you change your identity, you are trying to be, or should I say, you are being the next version of you. Now, there's a subtle difference. When you try to fake it till you make it, it's an external person, it's another person typically that you are trying to fit in as your role model, and you become a strange mishmash of what you see of them and what you do to mimic them in your daily life. However, when you try and be the next version of you, this requires you to take a step back and focus on my favorite topic, clarity. It makes you focus on who you want to be. It has to be in alignment with you, and you become the next version of you. It's not the next version of anyone else. It's not the current version of someone else like Michelle Obama or Barack Obama or Oprah or Beyonce or Adele or whoever is your favorite role model, right? It's not that. It is about you being the next version of you, and you being in alignment with that, and you acting from that place. So, for example, if you see yourself as a corporate leader in the next 10 years, what sort of a leader will you be? What sort of a firm will you be leading? It's almost getting super clear on that and then acting from that place. It's not stepping in to acting like the CEO when you are really not. That will get found out, and that will be probably frowned upon as well. And that's not what we are talking about at all. So take another client of mine. So she has been talking about entrepreneurship for the last 3 years. But what has happened in the last 1 year is that she really started to talk about herself as an entrepreneur rather than I want to be an entrepreneur. And what that did was she had to really get clear on what is it that I'm selling? Who is it that I'm being to be an entrepreneur? So she moved into that being rather than I want to be, I am trying to be, I want to be, I'm trying to be, and all the drama that goes around along with that. So instead of trying, she's just being the next level of herself. And because she's being that person, other people are getting attracted to her energy. People who she wants to attract are getting attracted to her energy. She's putting out her products out on the internet, and people are getting attracted, and they're buying stuff from her, and she's in business. And if she tried to be an entrepreneur, what does that even mean? How do you try to be an entrepreneur without being an entrepreneur? You can't do that. And this is the fundamental piece around identity, right? Like right from our childhood, if you think about it, Your identity has been given to you by someone else. When you were born, you were named whatever your name is. People started calling you that. That is an identity that you were given. You went to school, you went to uni, you were called a student. That's an identity you got as a result of doing a certain bunch of things. You went and started working and you did a bunch of things at work and you started to get known as this amazing professional. And that was also a result of you doing something in the world and people giving you that identity and then you borrowing that identity from what they have given to you. So, dare I say, if you think about it, take it back to the moment or the moment before you were born, you really had no identity. I can go down the spiritual rabbit hole and say this is exactly what we call the Nirguna Brahman in Hinduism. And what it really means is that you are pure consciousness, you have no quality per se. Your qualities are taken on and borrowed from the world. They are not absolute in any sense. But that's a random spiritual detour. And here's where growth and leadership are slightly different to borrowing the identity that people are giving to you. Leadership requires you to step into an identity, what you know to be possible of the next version of you. It's not a borrowed identity that someone else has given you. Of course, you need to still do the things from that identity level, and then people will recognize you as that person. But that recognition won't come till you step into the next version of you and do the things that the next version of you would do very easily. And this is something that my mentors call the be, do, have model. What we typically think is that we'll first have the title, then we'll do the things, then we'll be that successful person. What it instead means is that you flip it on its head, you be that successful person. When I say you be that, I mean you be in the energy of that successful person, and the successful person is the next version of you, not a fake person that you have made somewhere else, not the perception that you have of one of your role models. It's you, and you live and breathe as that person. And then you do what that person would have done, and then you will have the title. So this is called the be, do, have model. And this is what the NLP folks out there have been talking about. This is what the manifestation people have been talking about. This is what even therapists, psychologists, and so on talk about. This is just you having to change at your identity level to manifest the next version of yourself, if I'll use that word. Manifestation gets a bad reputation for a lot of things because I think it's very, very misconstrued. People end up thinking that, oh, I'll sit here and I'll do nothing and I'll meditate and I'll somehow manifest this unicorn startup out of Silicon Valley and I'll retire as a billionaire at 35, and you just sit there and do nothing because you are manifesting, and then you say that manifestation doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. The next version of you or the unicorn startup founders are not sitting there meditating on manifesting it. They are actually manifesting it by putting down the work. So there's no other way to manifest what you want to manifest other than actually doing the work, right? So if you are not doing the work and going on like, oh, manifestation doesn't work, of course it doesn't work because you're not doing the work. If you're not doing the work, then you clearly don't want it as much as the other person. The universe will go to the other person and say, okay, let me help that person instead because this person's not doing anything. They probably don't even want it. Anyway, again, random detour into manifestation, but this is basically what every spiritual person, every logical person, every scientific person is talking about, like do the work. But again, when I say do the work, I mean that do the work not from your current limited identity, because think about it. If you think about yourself as an employee, and this happens to me all the time, like I have to literally shift out of my identity to bring in my entrepreneur self. So quite a lot of times I get into the siloed rabbit hole of I'm just this data person, and I have to take myself out of that and say, well, but I'm actually not just a data person. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a technologist. I'm a business strategist. And I am 15 other things. Like I have a role in society. I have a role in my family. And all of these things come together. Like I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. When you want to be the next version of yourself, you have to really very clearly see your life in this light from being the next version of you. What does their life look like, safer? And I know, again, a lot of times the visualization people get in, and you say you have to visualize, you have to have a vision board. I mean, you could, and that's definitely an aid if you have a visualization board or a vision board in front of you that you look at it every day. That's definitely of great help, but it's by no means a substitute for what I'm saying. It's also not 100% necessary. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a super visual person. I would rather read, I would rather listen, which is why my visualization techniques, if you will have that, is sticky notes, and I write my affirmations on sticky notes, and I put it everywhere in my house. So that's a form of my vision board, because I'm more of a reader than of a visual, like picture person. And if you are a picture person, do that if that works for you. But the problem I have with visualization is that, again, it is taken from someone else, something else. I put on my face and I don't know, some fit person's abs on there, and then like some role model's clothes on there. How does that even work? Like this is where I get really messed up with visualization. But when I try to think about the next version of me, I can have a very clear picture in my head, and this is a creative faculty. This is not something that you are projecting outside into the world onto your wall. This is a creative faculty that you have within you, and you can get a mental image and you can click that mental picture and keep that with yourself in your head. Obviously, it won't come out and be on your vision board. That's the beauty of our creativity and imagination. But what you could say is that, by such and such date, I want to be such and such weight. And you could say you want to have this job at this salary, living in this city, working in this industry. You want to be a senior manager or senior marketing manager, and you want to have a side gig that generates whatever X thousand dollars a month. And then you also want to be spending X number of hours with your family and going out for drinks. But obviously, remember, while you do all of this, that all of us have the same 24 hours, and don't pretend to be God, don't play God. That stuff doesn't work. Like, you have to be realistic about it as well. It's not like whatever works and I'll manifest 25 hours in a day. That doesn't work. Be realistic with it. But obviously, for some people, realistic is I'll work 24 hours a day, which is crap. And for some people, it is that, oh, but I'm not good enough to be doing this in 2 hours. Yes, you are. If you are filled with self-doubt, I would say go a level higher and have more confidence in yourself. And if you are the know-it-all, I would say please check your confidence a bit, because you have to have that balance and you have to get that balance right. Yeah, that's how you move into the next version of yourself. Like, you literally visualize. And when I say visualize, I don't necessarily mean vision board, but you have to have a clear idea of how much money are you earning, where are you living, what industry are you working, what role are you working in, what does your family life look like, What does your social life look like? How many hours a day do you want to be working? What are the sort of values that you want to be serving? What are the type of the people that you want to be interacting on a day-to-day basis? Like, if you get really, really specific about all of these things and work backwards from that, that becomes a much more doable exercise. But when I say about an identity change, I talk about what would this version of me do? Like this version of me from 5 years from now, what would that version of me do? And if 5 years seems difficult, work from a place of, okay, 5 years later, I'll be this version, but who do I need to be 6 months later to be that 5 years later version of myself? And work from the 6 months later version. It's not like you have to have the 10-year version ready and only then you can start, right? You just have to have a sense of direction, not an ultimate destination. And this is where people mess it up so much. Like I've seen some of my students go completely crazy in their heads and be like, I need to know where I'm headed 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like 30 years down the line, you'll be a completely different person. People say that every 7 years or so, all the cells in our bodies change completely. So in 7 years, you are a completely different person. Every second, you are a completely different person. Why would you try to have this limited view of who you can be in 30 years from now? What you can do is have a sense of direction. And that, I think, the sense of direction is absolutely critical. What I don't think is necessary, in fact, I would say is probably not even advisable, is to have this fixed view of where you want to be. Say, for example, you wanted to be a doctor in 30 years, a general physician in 30 years. And in 10 years, the AI technology has gotten up to speed so much that there are no GPs around. Oh, what a shame it would be if you were to become a GP in 30 years because you would make zero money. You have to be agile to the changes of the world. So don't get caught up in this thinking that you need to know what you need to be in 30 years from now. But equally, have a sense of direction of what is it that you like, what is it that you not like, and what is your dream life like, and then your career like just fit all of those bits in. And obviously the closer you are in time to that, the more specific you can get about this is who I want to be in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. Like for me, like I said, I'm not a very vision board sort of a person, but I can very easily visualize 10 years. Like my gift is in the strategic long-term thinking, and I can very easily visualize 10 years. And that's one of the things that I think I have built in my career as well. Like obviously I'm a strategist, no wonder. And yeah, one of the things that personally I'm quite good at is the long-term think. If I can solve it in 2 minutes, it's probably not worth doing. And that's why I always tend to play the long game. But equally, I recognize that some people struggle to do that, in which case I would really recommend working with a coach, working with someone who's slightly ahead of you in their journeys, and figure out what is it that you want in your life, because only you know that. No one else does. I promise no one else does. And this is where I come back to, you are the CEO of your career, you are the CEO of your life, and you have to take like 100% responsibility for making your visions come true. No one else, even if they wanted to, could do it for you. What you could do is get in that help on the personal board of directors. You have your marketing team, your sales team, your networking team, etc., everything in place. But ultimately, you have to own it as your thing. You are the CEO. And when you shift into that identity of being the CEO, being the person that the buck ends with, who do you be in life? Because when you are stuck in that employee mindset, when you are stuck in the limited being of your current circumstances, you manifest your current circumstances. When you shift out and get into the next version of you and start working from that place, you manifest something bigger than what your current limited circumstances look like. And that is where I would challenge you to place your thoughts, focus your thoughts on, because when you focus your thoughts on what you want to be, where you want to be, you grow. But if you focus on all of the negatives, the negativity grows. Whatever you focus on grows, period. What identity are you shifting into today to be the next version of you? What is the next version of you? If you have a clear vision, please let me know. Write back to me on sudeshna@theabundancepsyche.com. And if you are wondering what the next version of you should be like, especially on career terms, because that's where I typically work, you can get a free copy of the Career Change Blueprint from the link in my description box, and spend a bit of time thinking about who is the next version of you that you want to be, because the answer to everything else lies there. Change your identity from being you as of right now, because right now you are a different person than who you were 2 seconds back, 3 seconds back, 4 seconds back, and now. And when you change your identity and live from the now, you can change everything, because you are not your past. You are manifesting, creating, working towards your future. If you work from the future, you get the future now, or you build towards that future. So here's my challenge to you. Get a copy of that Career Change Blueprint. Figure out what is the next level of you that you want to be, and start working from that place. Okay, I'll see you the next time. Bye.